November 20th, 2013. A massive Boeing cargo jet touches down in Kansas, but not where it was supposed to. Not even close. This isn't a minor navigation error, this is the wrong airport entirely. Inside that aircraft? Nearly $200 million worth of Boeing 787 Dreamliner components. And they're not just valuable, they're urgently needed in Seattle. Without them, Boeing's production line is on the verge of grinding to a halt. Now here's where it gets worse. The pilot can't just refuel and take off like normal. The aircraft is fully loaded, carrying oversized sections that already push its limits. With a full tank, the plane simply can't get enough lift from this short runway. So now, it's stuck, parked at a small regional airport that was never meant to handle something this big. And this isn't just any cargo plane. It's one of only 4 Boeing Dreamlifter aircraft in the entire world. These planes follow the same routes every single day, moving enormous aircraft parts that are far too large for ships, trains, or standard cargo jets. Back in 2013, there were just 9 of these specialized transport aircraft globally, supporting both Boeing and Airbus. 9. That's it. No backup fleet. No redundancy. If even one of them goes offline, it's not just a delay, it's a breakdown. Production doesn't slow down, it stops. And that raises a bigger question. How does a $3 trillion global industry end up depending on just 9 oddly shaped planes that look like they shouldn't even exist? Because here's what most people miss. If even one of these aircraft fails to deliver on time, the consequences hit instantly. At the Airbus A350 assembly line, thousands of workers can suddenly find themselves doing nothing. Around 6,000 people, standing still, waiting, because the wings they need are stuck somewhere over the Atlantic Ocean, unable to arrive. And those wings aren't delayed because of storms or bad weather. They're delayed because the aircraft carrying them, the Airbus Beluga, is quite literally the only plane on Earth designed to fit something as massive as an A350 wing inside its cargo bay. If that one plane isn't available, those wings don't move. It's that simple. Now here's the twist. Boeing is dealing with the exact same issue, just on an even larger scale. When you really break it down, the Boeing 787 Dreamliner isn't built in one place, it's assembled from parts made all over the world. We're talking about a global puzzle spread across 8 countries and 4 continents. In Japan, they build the fuselage sections and wings. Italy handles the stabilizers. France produces the landing gear. South Carolina manufactures key mid-fuselage sections. And then everything gets shipped to Washington State, where final assembly happens. That means these huge aircraft sections are constantly traveling across oceans, back and forth, week after week. Right now, just 4 Boeing Dreamlifter planes handle this entire operation, flying the same routes over and over again like clockwork. But here's the problem, if even one of those planes is taken out of service, the entire system starts to fall apart almost immediately. So why not just use something else? Trucks, trains, ships, something more common? They've tried all of it. Trucking sounds simple, until you realize an Airbus A350 wing is so large it physically can't pass under highway overpasses. And even if you found a clear route, it's far too wide to navigate tight roads and turns, especially in older European towns built centuries ago. What about trains? Same issue. These wings exceed the size limits for rail tunnels and standard cargo systems. They just don't fit. Shipping by sea? Technically possible, but painfully slow. Crossing the Atlantic can take up to a month. And during that time, assembly lines are sitting idle, burning millions of dollars while workers wait. And regular cargo planes? Even the largest ones in service don't come close. Their cargo holds are simply too small. Because when you compare them side by side, a standard cargo bay looks tiny, and an A350 wing is absolutely enormous. At some point, the numbers just stop making sense. The size of these parts is so extreme, the math simply doesn't add up. And here's the part no one really anticipated. Aircraft manufacturing became global and modular long before anyone figured out how to reliably move the pieces. Companies realized they could save money by building wings in one country and fuselages in another, like in Wales and Germany, but no one stopped to ask the obvious question: how do you transport something this massive on a strict schedule? Now go back to 1991. Airbus was already dealing with this exact challenge. Their components were spread across 6 different countries in Europe, and they were working on the Airbus A340, a plane with larger wings than anything they had built before. At first, they tried using the aerospace line Super Guppy, a strange-looking aircraft originally designed by NASA to transport rocket parts. For smaller components, it worked fine. But for the A340? It failed completely. The wings were simply too big. They wouldn't fit. And without a way to move those wings from the factory to the final assembly line, the entire project was at risk. Think about that for a second. You're an engineer, the launch deadline is just 18 months away, and suddenly you're told the wings don't fit. If you don't solve it, the whole program collapses, and thousands of jobs disappear with it. So Airbus took a bold, almost unbelievable step. In 1995, they introduced something totally new, the Airbus Beluga. They took an existing Airbus A300, essentially sliced open the top, and added a massive, rounded cargo section on top. At first glance, it looks wrong. Almost like a design mistake. But once you see the inside, it all clicks. The cargo hold is enormous, large enough to fit sections the size of a small house. The aircraft opens from the front, and with a specialized loading system, these giant parts can be moved in and secured in about 45 minutes. The results were immediate. Production time was cut nearly in half. Costs dropped by around 30%. It wasn't just a fix, it completely changed how Airbus built airplanes. And then, in 2003, things escalated. Boeing announced the Boeing 787 Dreamliner, promising cutting-edge materials and major improvements in fuel efficiency. But behind the scenes, they didn't just follow Airbus's strategy, they pushed it even further. They went all in on global manufacturing. Major sections of the aircraft were built all over the world. Japan handled both the wings and large fuselage sections. Italy produced the stabilizers. France supplied the landing gear. South Carolina built key mid-fuselage components. And everything would eventually come together in Washington State for final assembly. Boeing didn't end up in this situation by accident. They made a deliberate decision to spread manufacturing across the globe to cut costs. It looked smart on paper, but it created a problem no one had fully solved before. How do you move massive sections of a Boeing 787 Dreamliner across the Pacific Ocean on a tight schedule without breaking the entire production line? And this is where everything flips. Airbus built a strange-looking airplane to support the way they already manufactured aircraft. Boeing did the opposite. They designed their entire manufacturing system around the idea that a strange airplane would exist. So they went out, bought used Boeing 747 jets from airlines, and completely rebuilt them. We're talking about cutting open the fuselage, removing huge sections of the structure, and adding a giant cargo compartment that opens from the tail. The result? The Boeing Dreamlifter, a plane that looks unreal, but does one very specific job perfectly. And it wasn't cheap. Transforming just 4 of these aircraft cost over $1 billion. When the tail swings open, it reveals a cargo space designed almost exclusively for 787 parts. It's not flexible. It's not general purpose. It's built for one mission, and one mission only. Now you've got 2 completely different solutions. The Airbus Beluga opens from the front, maximizing internal space and carrying up to about 47 tons. The Dreamlifter opens from the back, optimized for specific oversized sections, and can haul more than 100 tons. Different designs. Same purpose. And in 2013, there were only 9 of these aircraft in existence, supporting an industry worth trillions of dollars. No backups. No safety net. That makes the entire system incredibly fragile. If even one aircraft is grounded for maintenance or runs into technical trouble, the pressure builds instantly. Assembly lines don't keep parts sitting around, they operate with almost zero inventory. Everything is timed perfectly. If a component doesn't show up within days, workers have nothing to do. Which brings us back to that night in Kansas. When the Dreamlifter landed at the wrong airport, it wasn't just an embarrassing mistake, it was a crisis. Engineers worked through the night trying to figure out if the plane could even take off again. They came up with 3 options, and none of them were good. Option 1, unload the cargo, which would immediately stall production. Option 2, dump fuel and make a short-range flight, delaying delivery even more. Option 3, attempt takeoff at the absolute edge of the aircraft's performance limits, less fuel, full cargo, no margin for error. They chose option 3. The next morning, that Dreamlifter pushed every limit it had. It used the full length of the runway, and just barely cleared the trees at the end. Think about that. A $300 million aircraft, carrying critical components, taking a calculated risk, because stopping production would have been even more costly. And the story doesn't end there. By 2019, Airbus realized even their original Beluga wasn't big enough anymore for the newer Airbus A350XWB parts. So they built something even larger, the Airbus Beluga XL. It looks so unusual that Airbus leaned into it and literally painted a smile on the front. Fast forward to 2026. There are about 15 of these specialized aircraft in the world. 6 Beluga XLs. 5 older Belugas being phased out. For Dreamlifters. And together, they keep global aircraft production alive. Here's the pattern. As passenger planes get bigger, cargo planes have to grow with them. And those cargo planes make even larger passenger planes possible. Take the Boeing 777X, for example. Its wings are so massive that the tips actually fold just to fit at airport gates. Moving parts like that may require an entirely new generation of transport aircraft. And all of this started for a simple reason: companies wanted to build airplanes more cheaply by spreading production across the world. It worked. But it also created a system that, back in 2013, depended on just 9 strange-looking aircraft flying the same routes every single day. And now? There's no easy way to undo it.